Hey,
Unmuting myself, I am.
there you go. Let me spotlight you. Welcome everybody to Christine. Thank you, Charlene. Oh my gosh, so much gold, so much value here. And I am sure that y'all are going to be a hard act to follow by the end of the day. I'm just going to say that. So welcome to the stage, Christine. I am so honored to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. We're going to continue actually some of the conversation that Charlene had started, because I want to talk about the giant elephant in the room. And that is the conversation of how do I actually find clients? I think so many people are accidental entrepreneurs. I'm not one of them. I happen to be a very intentional one and grew up in the world of business. But a lot of the struggle that I see is because we don't understand how to build the client pipeline and how it is what you actually focus on. So just to back you up in terms of, if you've never met me, what my background is, I have a really eclectic corporate career, and I am a business mentor and consultant today, which I never set out to be. And that's important for you to know. What I set out to be was a great entrepreneur. And I had a career that started in the world of marketing. And I kept asking the marketing teams, they were so irritated, so what? That's pretty awesome. What the hell's it do? Where are we going with it? That ended up leading to me always being invited into the sales conversations. Christine, go answer that. And that led into the path of sales. And I'm like, great, we have a beautiful idea. We have somebody who sees the vision. Now what? Why in the hell can't we deliver this? Was often the question I was asking. And it became an operational problem. And we weren't delivering what we promised. And that's how you kill your reputation. And I just put a whole bunch of content out about your hidden reputation that will drop tomorrow on Monday, actually Monday. So take a look at this, because hidden reputations are really important, not just the ones you curate. But so then I ended up in operations. And of course, when you are moving in marketing, sales, and operations, you are in the land of money. And people are wanting to know what the hell's happening. So I end up, of course, very detail orientated in the world of money. But as my career progressed, I ended up, of course, leading teams and people. And what makes me great as a mentor is the ability to connect the dots. And I built my first business 1 hour a day. And I knew what to focus on for 1 hour a day. That led to consistent client growth. And what kept happening in my peers was, can I buy you coffee? What the hell are you doing? Can I buy you coffee? What the hell are you doing? And I said, I treat my business like a business. And everyone's like, oh, that's a catchphrase and a t-shirt. Who's heard it? Who understands it? Nobody. And that's what I realized. My peers were doing the hokey pokey in their business. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They would run at something for a period of time, it not deliver the result, and then they would back off. And they were constantly exhausting themselves and constantly in overwhelm and saying, why is this so freaking hard to find clients? I said, it's not hard to find clients. You've got to learn how the business skills work. And that's what I'm going to take you through today. Because in order for you to see the life you dream of, the financial freedom, whatever that is, the lifestyle, I would tell my clients, I want you to work less in year 2 than year 1. And they're all like, sounds lovely. I don't believe you. Sure. Okay, Christine, I'll take you for a grain of salt. I said, because the goal is to create the business that supports you. So if you do need to step out for a health issue, or you do want to go away for a weekend, your business doesn't implode. You need to understand the business fundamentals. And I have 2 degrees in the world of business. I've helped over and worked with more than 400 clients, and we've created $1 billion in revenue. So I will tell you when they succeed, is because they understand audience building. Where they don't succeed, they took their foot off the gas on how to build an audience. And this is important. And so I want to talk first just at a really broad picture about audience building, because nobody is talking about this in the world of business. They're talking to you about when I'm selling and how awesome I was, $10,000 months. I had $80,000 in clients. All those numbers happen because they built the audience. If you don't have an audience and you're the best kept secret, this is your only priority. I tell clients, if you already have consistent client growth, 50% of your focus has to be on this, however many hours you work your business. If you are not seeing clients and not getting paid, and you do have that really expensive hobby that we heard about, then 70 to 80% of your time is this single thing. Because the business you have today is because of the activity you spent on audience building historically. And Q2 is a really interesting thing. And I love that Haley was doing this in Q2, because Q2 is the most dangerous quarter for any business owner. Because your volume and your new client growth in Q2 is because of the work you did from last quarter and maybe in the tail end of 2022. If you haven't been building your audience, Q2 is dangerous. Why? Because if you don't have clients before the end of June, you're going to say, I'm going to take the summer off because I don't really have a full calendar. And then people don't put activities into their calendar. I had my biggest event last year in July to prove a point. Some of you were there. I ran a client masterclass. All of my Q1, best quarter of the year. Why? Because I launched 2 things in December when nobody said, nobody's around in December. I'm like, really? Business happens 365 days a year, but that doesn't mean you have to play 365 days a year. But we need to get this right, because Q2 is the make or break quarter of your year. And I'm going to tell you how you build your audience. So let's take it at a big picture. I always tell people there are 3 lanes of traffic in the world of buyers. And the shortest path in business 101, let me tell you my undergrad degrees, biggest insight, go where the market is spending. It's the shortest path to cash. If you want to create the market, you need a bigger budget, you need more patience, and you need a longer runway. You can do that, but get help. If not, accelerate by going where the market is spending. In a recession, there is more money moving hands than any other time because people's runway is shorter. Their need to get the solution is shorter. Their patience and recognition that, holy crap, what I'm doing right now isn't leading to me to where I go, is a reckoning moment. There's more money moving hands right now than ever. So if you think I can't get clients because there's no money, I'm calling bullshit. Sorry, with love. It's just not true. You're buying into it, and that is why you took your foot off the gas. So let's get your foot back going. There are 3 lanes of traffic. There is the slow lane. This is where probably 95% of businesses stall. They're the slow lane. In the slow lane, somebody has general awareness that there might be problems in the horizon, but it's not my problem today. So it's not a priority to solve it today. And most businesses spend all their time talking to people, trying to convince them, which is what Char was talking about, trying to convince them, you need me. Nobody needs you. They need the result. When they can't get the result on their own, they might choose you to help them, be the guide. But they don't need you. And in fact, if they need you, they resent you. And that's not a good place. Don't take that client. You will hate it. But the slow lane is where what happens so often is we start talking to them, trying to convince them to buy our programs. And you have fans over here because they like you, but they are not your buyer today. Stop trying to convince them. Nurture them. But if you spend all your time in the slow lane, you will go broke, emotionally and financially. So be cautious. I want you to take as a takeaway, sit and reflect. Are you spending all your time right now marketing to the slow lane? If you do, light bulb can't stay there. The middle lane is where you will build the bulk of your business. And in the middle lane, this is someone who has a specific problem that repeats itself because we're human and there's a pattern, and they white knuckle their way through the problem trying to do it all themselves. However, because it is a problem that repeats, that they don't solve, they only band-aid, if you can disrupt them when they are in that moment and talk to them about, sounds like you have a bit of a pattern here. Do you want to talk about the alternate so that we can break the cycle once and for all? Chances are you have their attention. That's a client that will move and invest if you do it well. But that is actually a buyer because they have a repeating pattern, they are white knuckling it, and they are invested in getting out of their cycle. And they will make it a priority if you can intersect that pivot point. That's really what your niche is. You've got to understand the niche isn't she's 35, she has 2 kids. Your niche is the pivot point of when do I draw the line and say, I'm white knuckling it and shit, I can't do it anymore. What's the intersection point in that moment? And you've got to know, because that is where value is created. But that's the middle lane. The fast lane is the unicorn, and they happen. If you do audience building really well, the unicorns happen quite a lot. They happen a lot in my business. I'll go into podcasts and be hired on the spot, and that's not what I was there for. I will have clients say to me, I'm ready to work with you. I'm like, who are you? The unicorn client has a problem. It is a top priority to solve. They have already figured out they need to spend and invest to get a solution. And they have a short list of clients or considerations of people they might choose to work with. It's usually 2 or 3. So what are you doing to talk to them in that moment? I had a funny one-to-one last week for somebody who is a peer. And she said, I put you on consideration of somebody I will hire. I'm like, thanks. She's a unicorn. She's awesome. I'm not there to sell her. I was there to talk about her business because I think my clients need her. But I will tell you, you need to be thinking right now to understand at the top level, audience building is your single biggest non-negotiable. And you need to know which lane of traffic have you been spending all of your time in. Because the world has convinced you that all you need to do is post to be successful. But I just want to tell you, it's not true, and you know it, or you would be the millionaire you hope to be. But your messaging between the slow lane, the middle lane, and the fast lane is very, very different, because their priority is different. Their emotions are different. The micro win that gets them moving is different. And everything that I talk about in my business is about movement. Because the goal of marketing, which Shar was very appropriately to just lead this into, the goal of marketing is movement. Movement to the sale. If you attract the buyer over time and you understand where are they in their journey, how do you connect with them in those moments and make the offer that is value driven with a clear result. You are not the solution, you're the guide to help them get it. The more valuable result is a repeating new pattern, because they needed to break the cycle or they wouldn't see you as a must hire. So I want to take you through understanding that there is 3 lanes of traffic. Who are you tracking? When you meet somebody and network with somebody and connect to somebody and have doors opened, you need to be understanding and evaluating based on what you want to serve. What lane are they in right now? And plan accordingly how to build a relationship to move them up the priority and to be ready to make the offer when that priority is top. Because I will tell you this, leading to that, only 2 things predict your revenue. We've made this really more complicated in the world of social media, but I'm telling you, it's not. I believe business is elegantly simple. 2 things predict your revenue. How many people you know, how many offers you make. That's it. So if you're not tracking how many people you're meeting and how many offers you make, you're not focused on the things that create revenue. You are not focused on the things that create revenue. You're not focused on the business fundamentals. So let's talk about number 1. How do you build the audience? So I'm going to share my screen just so you have a framework, because I think that's sometimes important for all different kinds of learners. I want to show you what are the 3 non-negotiables. Finding clients isn't hard. Right now, as I said, there are more people looking for business solutions, but they are not looking for generalists. They're looking for specialist knowledge, who has specialist expertise, who will help me make a micro win and break a pattern, because I'm not able to break it on my own. First priority is that you must be building your audience more ways, more often, more people. And the goal, the way I teach my clients, is that the goal is to go where the market is already spending and turn their attention towards you. You want to move them from the back of the room and nurture them, understanding what lane of traffic they're in to the front of the room. Because the best way to grow a business, and this is maybe in some ways an inherent funnel, they show up and move from the back of the room to the front of the room, and they show up and say, tell me what it's like to work with you. And you're like, you're a unicorn. Where did you come from? But they come from the fact that you are active being visible, and you do not need to be on social media. I'm going to slightly call a rocket, maybe taking people a surprise here. You do need to be visible. That is non-negotiable, because you cannot be the best kept secret. People want to observe from a safe distance. Are you credible? Are you capable? Are you human? Okay, I'm just going to say this again because it's making me crazy right now. Are you human? Do I feel safe being vulnerable with you? Because recognize your client's in pain, and they've tried to put Band-Aids for a lot of years, probably, on a problem. And the first thing you're going to do is rip them off and help them heal that and help them solve something. You've got to be seen, human, credible, capable, and someone they actually want to spend time with. If your audience building is done right, people know definitively, am I in the right room with you? And if not, you talked about this with Char's session, you want them to say, I am not in the right space, and stop wasting your time. Stop giving your most valuable thing away, time, to people who don't want what you have, do not see this as a priority, and don't see you as an essential part of the solution they are looking for. So I personally like low-tech ways to grow my audience: speaking, networking, and events. Why? Because they are experiential in nature. Studies range, but I'm going to say 3% of people got out of bed today saying they were ready to buy. 3. So what about the other 97? Science says we're wired for predictable movement. We're always in motion. That's where vibration comes from. So focus on movement. What can you do to create experiences where people can judge? Am I in the right room with you? Because if you can get people moving from, I saw a piece of content, I saw her at an event, someone else spoke highly of her in a room she wasn't even in, and keep them moving that she is credible, likable, and capable of being a guide for me to get where I want to go. If you can do it at least 5 times, the 6th time that you present something, almost always neurologically, it is a yes. That's why when clients show up, they convert really high in my business. Why? Because they've already made the decision on the right hire. Their issue isn't me. Their issue is, I have to do this for myself, and I'm a bit scared. But will you hold my hand? Absolutely. But I also don't have tripwires in my business. I only make offers on my high-touch programs, the Business Skill Accelerator, to people face-to-face or screen-to-screen. I don't let you find your space at that highest touch point unless we've had a lot of conversation. But your number one goal is to get more visible. You have to do it. I tell people 1,000 people a month. And they're like, frick, did you just say that? Yep, I really did. And that seems like a really big number, but it is so doable if you focus on audience building at the highest priority of what you do day to day. You can leverage other people's rooms to get there more quickly. But if you only know 100 people and you need to sell 5,000 people a year to make your number, what are you thinking? Sorry, now I'm on fire. But I want you to get clear. Your goal is to get 1,000 people moving towards you so that 20 show up and ask for a one-to-one, and you make 10 people an offer and they all convert. That's the business I have. But to get people moving, I want you to know what the second priority is, and it's determining the so what factors. I told you I started in marketing and I kept saying, so what? It's pretty. What does it do? That's where it comes from. Your so what factors are about creating movement. This is the marketing piece. Everybody must market their business because market is movement, and movement is what builds momentum. You stay in the game. 1 hour a day, every day, I built a business and it was consistent. That's why people kept buying me coffee. What are you doing? Number one, why you are in business. Your biggest connection point to any other human on the planet is what makes you you. Why did you choose to do this? Nobody's coming to save you. You save yourself. In the world of business, you can play with awesome people, but you are the engine to your business. And the one thing that will get people moving is you showing up as human. Not perfect. Why does this matter? Why is this non-negotiable? You have this inherently. If you are not seeing consistent client growth in your business right now, you know what to do and you're not doing it, your why isn't big enough. Second thing you need to know is, what does the problem cost your client? Too often, the reason you get stuck in the slow lane is because you're describing the problem. Well, two problems with that. Number one, I'm either not self-aware to know you're talking to me, and you can keep talking for years and I still don't see it relevant to me, and that's where you get stalled. Or I do recognize myself, but I feel shamed by your judgment, and shame never creates movement, ever. So don't shame and bully prospects. But if you go deep into the darkness where your client is and you show up as human, and you recognize your goal is movement, so leave footprints in the sand, leave invitation, create experiences, and show people that movement is possible, the other side exists, and ask the question, do you want help? Let me make it safe and easy for you to move from a distance, safe in the dark. You will see success in your business. But movement, and you've got to understand, you need to know what's the 1000th time in lane 2, the middle lane, when I have a repeating pattern, I'm white knuckling it, and I simply need to say, okay, tell me what it is you do. I know vaguely, but I don't think it ever was relevant to me. But you're right, I have a pattern and I'm stuck and I'm cycling and I am done. I'm so exhausted. What does it look like to work with you? Movement comes when you understand what's the 1000th time they've drawn the line in the sand, and ask this simple question. Do you want it? Why now? And what makes this non-negotiable for you? All of that has to be on the table before you make the offer. Because if you're making offers to people who are not in that place, you won't convert them. And you're chasing them at this point. You're trying to convince them, and it's awful. Stop doing it. So number 3, your so what factor that's really, really important is why you. And you would have heard this from Joy Buffalini on day 1. You must be the must-hire choice, not the likable expert. If you're the likable expert, you're still in lane 1, slow lane. But you've got to know, and this is sometimes the hardest thing to do on your own, so I would invite you to work with somebody as a thinking partner to figure this out. Why you? Until you can own your own inherent value, that the things you've experienced is your own lens on the world, and what do you stand for? It is the magnet that pulls people to you. Otherwise, you are lost in the sea of sameness and you're like everybody else. That's why you end up doing the hokey pokey, because it's exhausting. So the final thing in the 3 biggest priorities to see that audience build, to create buyers in your pipeline so that you can see good success of consistent client growth, it's so simple. Conversation is the number 1 thing that drives your business. Deliver value, engage, nurture, care, and have a recognition that people need to be wooed. Nobody lands on your website without you building movement to it. And the transaction might happen there, but the decision does not. The decision happens on all your touch points of showing up, being clear on what you stand for, and having a conversation. If you are human to people and you get clear that people don't want to need you and they want the result, you will move your business. So in order for you to move from today, here's my invitation. Number 1, I want you to do reflection. What lane of traffic have you been spending all your time in? And is it serving you? If not, you need an intentional strategy to get out of that lane and start moving into the others. The second thing you need to ask yourself is, what rooms are you in? You have to meet more people. If you are in a room, which is your peers who are all enlightened, and you feel great because you all speak the same language, that's totally cool, but that's friendship. Your clients aren't there. Your clients are in the dark, in a safely Google, Pinterest, YouTube, asking simple, uncomplicated things. How do I move from my darkness? How do I get a micro win? And And how can I believe that there's even something for me on the other side? Too often we come from the place of enlightenment. We are not in the right rooms, and we are not intentional about building our audience. Everything else is noise until you get this wired. Once you get this wired, then you go to the funnels, you multiply and you plan it. But when you're planning that growth, just remember the goal that your capacity has to be at the conversation. It has to be at the table. I don't want you working 100 hours in year 2. I tell my clients that all the time. I want you creating more value with less people and getting into right rooms to create more impact. Doesn't that sound like a heck of a lot more fun? So guys, this is it. I am your partner in crime. Thank you, Haley, for having me. I've got a gift for you guys today. It's going to be 2 things. Number 1, you've got to go meet people. So I want you to download. First off, it is a do's and don'ts about virtual networking. My business is very global. It's been very global since the day I started it because I've lived in 5 countries and 30 cities. It never occurred to me that my business wouldn't be global. But you have gotten lazy on how you show up on screen. If you want to attract a $10,000 client, what do they expect to see when they meet you? You need to be thinking about your virtual presence. So there's a virtual do's and don'ts tip sheet for you. And I want to invite you. I run a masterclass. It is a 1-hour webinar about how to scale and how to attract that high paying client consistently without the complicated tech. It's 1 hour. I only do it live. Commit 1 hour to figure out the roadmap, because I will tell you it's the roadmap I use in my business. You will observe it. I walk my talk. You'll see what my clients do. You talk about my clients and what their experience is with this simple roadmap, and it will be an invitation to take the roadmap and run. And if you want me to do a bit of looking at your business, you'll have the invitation, but you must be in the room, and that's free time with my brain. Hope you come and take it. The event is happening on Tuesday. It will be at 5 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Eastern. You'll have an invitation to come and join me at that. If you cannot make that date, I will tell you, I do this regularly in my business. Why? Because those people that are in my audience that are moving towards me are in that room, and the right people will take the movement that says, I'm ready, because it's a priority. I just showed you the roadmap. I will show you how it looks and breathes. Thanks for having me, you guys. I hope this has been fun for you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Awesome. So everybody, let's give her jazz hands. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Christine? Any questions?
I have a question, if I may.
Absolutely.
First of all, Christine, I love your talk. It was amazing. Could you explain again, kind of just a summary recap, how to speak to slow lane versus middle lane versus fast lane?
Absolutely. So in the slow lane, remember that your goal in awareness is saying that there's going to be a problem down the road. One day you might need me. Here's the things to look for, whether this becomes a priority for you. So you're sort of giving them a bit of a forecast of, I'm going to tell you that this isn't relevant to you, but these are the things when you're going to start to feel wobbly. When you start to wobble, I want you to have awareness that this is something I told you is coming. Let's have a conversation when you encounter it. So that's the first one. You're going to tell them what the speed bumps are going to be down the road so that they know, oh, this isn't unusual. I'm not anything wrong. I might need some help. The middle lane is somebody who's already got a recognized problem and they're repeating the habit and they're white knuckling the problem. And you'll see this. I will tell you that what I see in business owners is those that keep going to the free class. I said, the free class isn't getting you where you're going. So why do you keep going to the next free class? It's not enough, but they are white knuckling their solution. And when you're intersecting with them, 2 things are happening. You want to say, first off, bring compassion. Sounds like things are really shitty in the dark right now and you're white knuckling it. Are you okay? Number 2 thing you might be saying is, that's a pattern. And I want you to know that there's something on the other side of pattern, and breaking the pattern is an option. The question you might ask at that point is breaking the pattern of interest to you? Yes or no? If it's no, you're not in the right place yet. They're going to keep looping. But if they say yes, they'll probably be hostile. Be prepared for that. But you're saying, okay, I will tell you what could come on the other side. And you might show life on the other side. You might cast a vision for them. You're saying, how does that feel for you? And they're like, really? I want it. Okay, is it a priority? Because if it's a priority, Do you want to have a conversation about what it is I can do to help you achieve it? Again, that's a result-driven question. Don't just paint the picture. They want the result. They just don't want the picture. The result is what will drive the investment. It'll drive the movement and it will accelerate it. So that's what you might be doing in lane 2. Ask, I see a pattern. Do you know the pattern is breakable? What's on the other side? Is that a priority? In the fast lane, somebody has already making a decision. The first thing you might say is, it sounds like this is a priority today. What are you considering? And answer any questions that come up about what are you hesitating around, because they've already decided they're investing. They have a short list of candidates and you're saying, what makes me a valuable, considered candidate to be hired? And ask the question at that point, what's the results you're seeking? Get really clear in that moment, what's the result they're seeking? And saying, to get that result, would you like to know what I believe is needed? And here's how I can help you. Show the answer and then ask the question, would you like me to make you an offer? Because I believe, and only if you truly believe, I can help you. This is the offer. Do you have a credit card? This is when we will set our first meeting. If they are hesitating, this is one thing Shar talked about, but I will just tell you how I manage it. If someone says, I don't have a credit card right now, I said, we will put a meeting in the calendar within the next week. Payment must be made before we get there. We'll take it when we arrive. You try to get the commitment because they are going to tell you. Every client I work with comes back to me and says, I should have done this sooner. They stayed in the middle lane too long. They stayed in the slow lane too long. But hopefully, does that help in terms of your message, what you're looking for? You want to be aware of humanness at every intersection, compassion, but you must lead the conversation by getting micro buy-ins from them. I talked about that movement and conversation. I'm getting to multiple agreements before I make an offer. What's it worth for you to do it now? And if the answer is got to be, in order to see a transaction complete, the value of the result has to be more than the investment. And in one case, in my case, I said to clients all the time, my goal is to help you make better decisions for the rest of your business journey. My goal is not to make you dependent on me, but to be a trusted partner is a hugely valuable thing. But I said, we're not getting one client growth. Certainly, we're going to celebrate every client because it's impact and income. But I said, I want to help teach you either the skill gaps or the mental fortitude to grow the audience consistently. And when you grow the audience consistently, you're not getting one client. If you're looking for 3, 5, 10, 12, 20 a year, this is the pattern that we need to build every day. The infinite return on investment, exponential. So, well, why are you waiting? And if they say, I'm waiting, I said, the issue generally at that point, remember when clients choose to work with you, the first thing they're doing are borrowing your confidence. Your confidence, you can guide them to the result. That's it. So you've got to make sure you're building a strategy to be the confident person they want to choose as the must hire. Their biggest hesitation is that they have to bet on themselves. They have to really do the work and say, you know what? Everything you want's on the other side of fear. The good thing is, if you choose to work with anybody, but particularly me, this is why I'm your must hire, and I will be with you every step of the way. It's time. Is the fire lit? Let's give it some oxygen. Sales is the oxygen in your business. Does that help?
Very cool. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
You're welcome.
It is absolutely all in your audience. If you don't keep building that audience and that network, platform, reputation, that's where all the clients come from. And if you don't have a network, it's really hard to get clients. Thank you. Everybody, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, everybody.